What is good, ladies and gentlemen? You are listening to the Black Baseball Mixtape podcast. As always, the mixtape is brought to you in partnership with Stilo Sports, the Players Alliance, Herentia 21, Numbers Game Scorecards, and Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds. Those last two, if you use the promo code Black Baseball Mixtape or BBM, you will get a discount on the product, which I believe was sold out, especially in Rebellion Harvest, the Sunflower Seed case, was sold out for a while. I think they're restocked. They're back now. Use the BBM code, and not only do you support partners of our show, but you also support this show as well. So make sure you do that. I am just ecstatic. I'm ecstatic because you know that when the Orioles went out of the World Series or the playoffs, I said I wanted the big guns. I wanted the Dodgers. I wanted the Yankees. I wanted the big stars. And not only did I get the big guns so far in the World Series, I'm bringing in the big guns on the show. Flobo, in the building. How are you feeling, my man?
Man, it's baseball ain't kind, man. But like most love stories, they end in tragedy, brother. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Mets run end. But I'm okay. I press on.
There can only be one. Again, at the end of every season, there can only be one champion.
Absolutely.
And unless it's your team standing, you're going to be disappointed. But let me bring in someone whose team is standing. April is in the building. The Dodgers are in the World Series. April, how are you feeling?
I feel amazing. My team has won. I'm ready to discuss how we only have 4 more wins. Yes, we on that.
Well, somebody that is not used to that has got to be used to playoff success, used to the veteran squad, but it did not work this year with the Houston Astros. Yo, my guy, I'm bringing him in. Did I lose him? There he is. Butterman Kane himself. Malik, how we feeling?
My man's gonna go with the drip though. Woo, look at that jacket.
Look at that jacket. Malik, how we doing?
Brought it back.
Is he frozen? I think he might be frozen.
I didn't think he can hear you.
Yeah, I might be frozen. You know me. We doing all right over here in Houston.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're all here. The gang's all here. The World Series is set. We're gonna talk about all of it, but let's close the book on what turned out to be fairly exciting, if not like. I think the games, when you talk about the ALCS and the NLCS, I think the games were more competitive than the outcome. Because when you actually look at the outcome, what was it? 4-1 Yankees and 4-2 Dodgers. So it wasn't like we were going to game sevens, but within those games, the game within those games, we had some really, I think, competitive baseball being played. When you look at the fight that Cleveland put up, you look at the fight that the Mets put up. Flobo, how do we feel about the ability for the Yankees and the Dodgers to move forward?
Yeah, to your point, there was like 2 different flavors of competitive baseball because over the ALCS, that scoreline flipped a bunch of times. It was kind of like edgy of seat. Each game was like a season inside a game. Whereas in the NLCS, it was just like they were saying haymakers, right? Who's going to blow out who today? And that's another flavor of baseball, which was crazy as well. So we're getting all those things in the NLCS. It was kind of fun. I was actually rooting not so much for Cleveland to win, but I was kind of rooting for the baseball media to really pick up more of their championship drought for their storyline. It's kind of was like, oh, Cleveland's happy to be here. I'm like, yeah, but they had the longest drought of like, 60, 70 years without being going to the chip. But hey, look, the Yankees are a phenomenal team, and so are the Dodgers. And so that's why we get that World Series on the horizon. So.
Malik, when you looked at Cleveland and the effort that they put up against the Yankees, like I said, it wasn't that competitive of a series. There were some competitive games inside the series. Are you surprised that the Yankees kind of rolled through Cleveland as effectively as they did?
I'm not surprised at all. Not in the least bit. And this is generally how they perform against AL Central teams in the playoffs. And at this point, they were feeling pretty hot because, the Astros are gone. They're not in the playoffs. They're nowhere to be found. And Cleveland could only they could only small ball the Yankees so much in this series, and I think that the Yankees took advantage, and they had Big Soto on their side. A big series from really the lineup when you talk about like how Gleyber Torres has just been leading off and getting on base for them. So I'm not really surprised at all.
April, what say you? Again, competitive games in there. Obviously, the big shot was made by Soto, and obviously Stanton had a really, really good
Mhm.
ALCS. But like I said, at the end of the day, you look at it, and it just seemed like Yankees win, Yankees win, Yankees win, and they're moving on. Were you surprised that they handled, I thought, a really underrated and really good Cleveland team pretty handily?
I was surprised, but I think that there were other aspects that kind of surprised me about the series. So, looking at how some of the closers performed, like Cousins, he really showed out on Saturday night, and even how some of the role players performed, how well. Like we talk a lot about Stanton and Soto, Gleyber Torres has been also fantastic the postseason. And on the side of Cleveland, it was like there was a fight in them, but it just didn't end up on the scoreboard. And that was the part for me that just kind of played out. Like Cleveland, they had moments, but it just wasn't enough to be able to overcome exactly where the Yankees were and where they were trying to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key here is that Cleveland came into the series, I think came into the playoffs, boasting what I also echoed was the best bullpen in baseball. And it turned out that their bullpen, and especially Clase, got exposed
Yes.
quite a bit when the pressure was on. So it seemed like the Cleveland bullpen got exposed quite a bit, and it just seemed like they could never really, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Josh Naylor,
Yes.
Bo Naylor, like the Naylor guys didn't really get it going. I love Quan as a player as well. It just seemed like
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like the Yankees and kind of all of their Yankee isms, um, acted like the big brother of the division, if you will, and they kind of big timed Cleveland. And I'm surprised because I thought Cleveland was kind of that scrappy group that had a lot of fight, like the Padres, and they were
Right.
not like the Padres.
But the thing is, the problem with, and maybe you can throw this out with the balanced schedule, is that the AL Central has been completely upside down. Like so many teams qualified because of how inept the White Sox were, and a collapse with the Minnesota Twins. So I'm not saying Cleveland didn't need to be there, but there was going to be a come to reckoning moment where guys will either have to overperform what we expect them to, or a team of the Yankees are going to smack them around. I just kind of wish it was Game 6 or 7. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it looks
was
on
not.
paper super simple for New York, but it wasn't the case. It just got outplayed.
Right.
Are you surprised? Let me ask Malik, because I am a little surprised, and you mentioned it, Flobo, as well. They didn't pick up, to me, they didn't pick up on any Cleveland narratives. This might have been the Yankees versus a team to be named later. When you watch the games, you hear people talk about the games. Even the most exciting game of the entire playoffs was won by Cleveland. A
Right.
bottom of the ninth, 2-run home run by Newell, followed by an extra inning home run by Fry. And that was obviously the only real Cleveland highlight. But the narrative of the story might as well have been Yankees lose game. And not like every storyline in that American League kind of playoff run to me was all about the Yankees.
Yeah, I definitely have to say that because just looking at that series and how Noel, Big Christmas, you're having the players that aren't really known by the general public get showcased in the playoffs at this time, especially in the AL Central. You have David Fry, um, John Kinsey, Noel. You have for the first time their shortstop Rocchio is hitting pretty well in the playoffs. He didn't really hit that well the whole year, but he's been holding it down at shortstop. And so it was an opportunity for Cleveland to really give this shine, and really also shout out to Detroit, the series before that, getting some of those players some shine as well.
Yeah, I think Rokia earned some money this playoff. Seriously, because I didn't even know who he was. Like I didn't know much about him, but I didn't watch him all season, but he tended to wake up. His bat woke up in the playoffs, and it was like Rocchio and Jimenez turned into obviously a great double play combo. I just don't know, and we'll move on from this, but I don't know. Looking at the team as currently constructed, I don't. I mean, like Cleveland's a nice team. Are they able? Do you think they're a World Series team? They again, it's hard to say because this series it looks like they did get exposed quite a bit. But do you look at that Guardians roster and say that's a team that can win the World Series?
No, because before the season started, I said I did not expect anybody in any of the Centrals to go past a certain point. And I think it was obvious that it was going to come up. Like they had their success levels, but when you match up with teams that have the pitching, the starting pitching, the relievers, the bullpens, and the guys who not only because you're automatically going to think of your Sotos and your Judges and so forth. But when you have role players who are good and they all start clicking for your team, and you look at that versus the matchup of the other team, I just did not see that as a factor of them beating out the Yankees. So when a lot of people say that the Yankees had an easier route, like in my opinion, they did. And I don't, this is not to discount them, but the Yankees just put together a team that was ready for the moment that they are about to have.
The Yankees are doing an interesting thing that I'm actually really pleased about because if you look at a team like Cleveland, you're going to say, oh, it's a team. There's no real superstars. The team is greater than the sum of their parts, if you will. Mm-hmm. However, the Yankees have stars, huge stars. When you talk about Soto, you talk about Judge, you talk about Cole. But the Yankees have done this thing where, in turn, they are really a team. They're playing like seems like every interview that I've seen, every narrative I've seen, they acknowledge that they've got stars, but they're playing for each other like a team that doesn't have stars. Nothing points out more than I think Jazz. They moved Jazz up to clean up. Jazz is laying down bunts to move guys over out of the cleanup spot. Just the in the ALCS in the game, it seemed like even with the Soto hit or Stanton or Judge, all of these guys seem like, oh yeah, we have stars, but we're doing this thing where the Yankees are really coming together as a team. And they have something to win for. Was that your hand, April? What do you think?
Yeah.
you got your hand raised?
But no, I wanted to say, like, on Saturday, what you are talking about was displayed during the championship portion when they were giving out the award to Stanton. One of the people who was cheering the most was Jazz Chisholm. Yeah. And I was so proud to be able to see that moment. But I was listening to Aaron Boone and how everyone else was cheering for each other. It was very much so collective. But even Aaron Boone mentioned what you stated, and that the players were playing for each other. And we don't hear that a lot, or even, some people, they forget that the moment is about the team, but I just don't get that from this team. And I think that sometimes those are the moments that really carry you forward. When you know that, I'm fighting not just for me, but I'm fighting for the guy in front of me, behind me, next to me, that completely brings on a completely different portion.
Really quickly, for those of you listening on Instagram Live, we are also on the Black Baseball Mixtape YouTube page, and obviously you can see now, shout out to Yost Malone, if you want your comment posted, you got to use the YouTube page, but we can post your comment and probably respond to it as well. We'll also be looking through the comments on Instagram, but we can't repost those. We can only repost the YouTube comments. So, but I agree with you 100%, April. Flobo, does this World Series appearance get Boone off the hot seat?
I think with the Yankees is definitely win or bust, right? So we said that last Thursday. There are certain franchises out there, and that changes for different years and different expectations, where you end is okay. There's some people that look at both Cleveland and the Mets' departure, they see us going, you tried really good. All right, the Yankees no longer have that luxury. 15 years for a championship isn't the end of the world for about 25 franchises, but the Yankees are one of the 5 where it's like, bro, it's been 15 years. And I was saying that last week with the Mexican League. The Diablos didn't have a championship in like 10 years. In year 11, they signed everybody. Like Robbie Cano got money. Like everyone went down to Mexico to make sure the Diablos got them to the championship. So no, Boone has to win a championship with his tenure as a Yankee skipper. It can hopefully be this year for them, if not next year or whatever, but he cannot be removed from that position without a ring on his finger.
Interesting. Let's flip the script. We talked about the Cleveland Guardians and kind of them getting big time, them not showing up. Let's flip the script to the National League, because everybody, I think, thinks that the New York Mets have the ability to be in the World Series. Like when we were just saying, we don't think Cleveland has a World Series roster. You look at the New York Mets roster, and I do think that that's a World Series roster. Obviously, a roster that can be improved. But when you looked at what happened this year with the Mets, they get to obviously the National League Championship Series as a bit of a surprise. Going through Philly was definitely a surprise, but they got there. There was always this thing about the Mets where it wasn't over till you got the third out in the bottom of the ninth. They just had the ability to keep coming back, keep fighting. Obviously, a pretty impressive run. But I'm going to ask you the same. I'm going to ask you guys the same question we talked about the Guardians. At the end of the day, what was it? 4-2.
Yes.
The Dodgers. The Dodgers was like, this is a cute story. Let me now let me put my hats on. Let me do my thing. Malik, did you just think? I mean, obviously the Dodgers are going to the World Series. They won 4-2. But did you feel as if we kind of feel like the Yankees overwhelmed the Guardians? Do you feel like the Dodgers overwhelmed the Mets?
Absolutely. I think they overwhelmed them in many ways, given that their offense was just starting to click at that point. You just look at the diversity that the Dodgers have in their offense. Not only can they hit the ball out of the park, Mookie just decided to start hitting in the playoffs. And so that's good for them. He's pulling the ball a lot more, going back to his old Boston ways when they had that large green monster. So you're seeing a guy who's really going back to his playoff swag and his playoff swing. And then you have the rest of the lineup just clicking as well. Tommy Edman. I think they just kind of poured it onto the Mets. There wasn't enough gimmicks. There wasn't enough grimaces. There wasn't enough OMGs to overwhelm the Dodgers. I feel like they just needed one. They maybe needed one more funny storyline to just kind of push them over the edge.
Not the storylines.
No, I feel like that the Mets were really riding on this wave of really good vibes, and I think it was really good for the game. If they wouldn't be the World Series contenders this year, I would have loved it as well. Been a great story. But I think the Dodgers got just locked in, and they kind of pulled some of that energy that they had from the Padres series. There was a little bloodthirsty this time, like rabid. So I think they kind of overwhelmed the Mets a little bit, and the good vibes kind of soared. But I think that it was a great run for the Mets regardless. They really shut up a lot of naysayers this year, a lot of doubters. Got to say that.
Look, I'm going to give April the last word on this, so I'm going to go to Flobo. Flobo, what did you see from the Mets in this Dodgers-Mets series?
So it's hard to approach this as objectively as possible, right? The Mets are my team.
You don't have to. You're a Mets fan.
But here's the thing. I think the problem is I'm looking at your Discord channel, Black Baseball Discord. Check it out. It's so pro Dodgers that I don't even engage with your group because y'all be crazy sometimes. Shout out to the people who know who we're saying. But look, it's like this.
Look, really quick too. I don't mean to cut you off, but the Yankee fans in the chat, in the Discord chat, it's like they're not there, then they're all there at once. Then they're not there, then they're all there. So look, I'm going to give you credit, Flobo. At least you're a Mets fan that's in the chat. It's like the Yankee fans, it's either 0 in the chat or 25 of them all at the same time. It's very confusing.
It's weird. It's like Superman and Bizarro. I think the anxiousness that Yankee fans have, the same the Mets fans have, is like, how is this going to go wrong? But the Yankees have a different level of success. Right. So they're like, wait, we win? Yes, right, man. BX all day.
Right. We knew it all the time.
So okay,
I've been in the chat for 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Off the top rope. So much like how I was disappointed in Cleveland's coverage about their story and history. It kind of felt like they were just propped up to be destroyed by the Yankees. The Mets and their journey this season was pretty much distilled to OMG and Grimace, which was kind of unfair. So yes, there was way more memes and everything else. There was a Hawk Tour girl and stuff like that. But if you didn't follow the New York Mets all season, you would have thought they were a traveling carnival, which was totally discounting what Jose Iglesias did at his age, was discounting what Mark Vientos did at his age on the other side of the spectrum. So it was a 6-game series. Yes, the Dodgers, if you had a little like war or a little like tell the tape, they would have sold either way, but it kind of got written off as like, yeah, the joke's over. The series team is going to go forward. Now, to answer your question about the Mets, are they a World Series team? Yes, but the window would have been this year only. We have 12 guys who are free agents, not counting Sean Manaea, who has a player option, and Adam Ottavino, but whatever. We're never getting him back. So it felt like the Breakfast Club, like the 80s movie. We're under tension, we made some jokes, became friends, and then went on this run. So I am disappointed, not necessarily that they lost to the Dodgers, because the Dodgers were the best team in baseball for a long part of the game, but I was disappointed in the Fox broadcast and all the memes that all the baseball outlets posted, like it was just the Grimace Company team showing up to Los Angeles. I was like, wait, we're actually good. So that's my thing as a fan, but as an analyst, you can't knock 3 MVPs plus Teoscar plus Tommy Edman out of nowhere. I mean, you can't stop that. So.
Interesting. But now, really quickly, before we go to April for her victory lap,
fair.
Vientos is obviously coming back. Lindor is obviously coming back. What are we doing with Pete Alonso?
Pete Alonso is going to be the big story because, so 175 million of the team's payroll comes off the books. So all that number one payroll stuff goes out the window. But Pete Alonso and possibly the Juan Soto sweepstakes is the biggest chunks of our roster. But you're talking about Bader, you're talking about Iglesias, you're talking about Tyrone Taylor has one more year, Starling Marte has one more year, Nick Neal has one more year. Like this core is going to change next year. So yeah, that's going to be the big story about what do you do with Pete first. Then if you have money for Juan, then if you get Juan, yes. If you don't, it's a whole different thing.
Look, I'm going to be on the record. I'm going to say this right now. If Juan Soto is not a Yankee next year and for the years moving forward for a very long time, somebody's getting fired. I don't know if you can fire Cashman. I don't know if you can fire. I don't know who. Look, I don't know what you do, but you got to lock up Juan Soto. You have to.
You do.
That man is a Yankee. He just looks good in a Yankees uniform. He belongs in a Yankee.
He is a Yankee.
Accent.
Nah, man. Colorado Rockies, bro. That's
April, you've been watching this team, the Dodgers, all season and for many seasons. You were very locked in, even from the beginning of this. I remember this group in our Seoul, Korea opening day podcast, and you were still talking about what the Dodgers were going to be. We're here now. The Dodgers are in the World Series. Did not go. The whole season didn't go the way we would have said it was going to go, especially with pitching. What did you see out of the championship series against, I think, a game Met squad that, what did you see from them that kind of made you gave you all the feels?
So I want to start off because the Mets played great ball. And for me, the Mets were the kind of team, and I talked about this on Sunday night, that you don't get a chance to rest while you are watching the game because you just don't know when they're going to turn it on.
Right.
And that was the part, because even Sunday night, they were still fighting. They, it's the bottom and it's the top of the lineup and so forth. And they are battling it out. They would not give up. And I love that in that particular team because you saw it with the Phillies, but you also saw it against the Dodgers. And you had players like Vientos, who I'm like, I don't even think we should just be pitching to the guy at this point. But as far as the Dodgers, I will say it definitely wasn't the season. The season didn't go the way that I expected as far as the players that we would have, how we would perform, all of the injuries. But I'm very, very proud of how Dave Roberts has managed this team to the point of where we are right now. I'm very proud of the players who have stepped up into places that we would not have foreseen. And I have said the Tommy Edman pickup was probably one of the best pickups at the deadline. He's playing center field. He's playing shortstop with Miguel Rojas going out. And he was my X factor for the Sunday night game. But it's just been amazing to see that this team fight for each other. And I think even going into the World Series, you see it with the Yankees, but you also see it with the Dodgers. You have players willing to fight for each other. And if you haven't seen the David Vassy interview with Max Muncy and Brent Honeywell, please go check that out, because that was pretty much a tell-all of how this team has decided to bond and come together at the right moment for each other. And that is going to lead and carry them on into ultimately the World Series. So I'm really, really happy because I picked my team to go all the way. I was riding until the wheels fall off, and here we are.
We are here now. So let's I see Flobo's face. But let's jump forward. Let's jump forward into Friday. We got the I would say the greater baseball world, not the local baseball world, but the greater baseball world got the series that I think the world wanted to see. It got the stars in the biggest stages and the biggest media markets. This is think about this. There's
terrible.
When was the last time?
Terrible for the game.
We always talk about this, but when was the last time that a league got like the finals that they really wanted to get? Like I was thinking about in any sport, like this is the Super Bowl that we wanted. This is the NBA finals that we wanted. I can't fully remember. Somebody said, I guess when LeBron was with Cleveland and they wind up playing Golden State with Steph Curry. I think it might have been the Durant year. That was like what the league wanted to see, like out of the East, out of the West. Baseball is completely unpredictable. We talk about this all the time. I thought it was horrible. Last year we had a Diamondbacks Rangers World Series.
You said that.
It was awful. It was awful.
If you say so.
This year we've got.
It's a mistake.
LA, New York. We've got Chavez Ravine, the Bronx. We've got Shohei. We've got Judge. Malik, I'm going to ask you, is this everything the baseball world could ask for?
Yes, it is, because the first thing is Shohei Ohtani is 30 years old. And it is a travesty that he's 30 years old and he's never touched a postseason until he got on a team that was actually serious. So here's the point. We're seeing the greatest player of
making comments.
Greatest player of of all time. Like literally, I don't know.
Go ahead.
I feel like it's good for the game right now. We've had a few years of the big bad wolf versus the underdog. Okay, we've had the two teams that we didn't expect to get there last year that everybody forgot, and they're both not anywhere in the playoffs or in October to begin with. So I feel like this series is, for right now, we have to have some big stars in the game. And I think that seeing Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs and seeing them in the World Series in our lifetime is a privilege in and of itself, So like a lot of people ain't made it to really kind of just see this type of baseball. So a lot of people are just waiting years to see their favorite player, make it, or seeing players that have retired and couldn't and have gotten injured, couldn't make it from their favorite team. And so I think it's good for the game overall. If you're a kid and you're watching baseball, this is the time, to get into it. So I think it's good for that reason.
April, what say you? Is this the best possible outcome for baseball fans and just the biggest global baseball stage?
Absolutely. You have the biggest names just out there. And I mean, we have to be honest. When you look at that jersey list, a lot of those players come from these two teams.
Well, you got Shohei at 1, you got Judge at 3, you got Mookie at 4.
Yep. And you had Freddie, Kershaw, also in the top 20 and so forth. So yeah, you have players that people actually want to see. And The other thing of this is when they played in July, we had somewhat of a preview of the excitement surrounding these two teams, the commercials that were out there. I remember when Yamamoto pitched that 7-inning game against them, and it was just a feeling that it's hard to be able to describe, but it was something that I hadn't felt in a long time as a baseball fan. And I was just yearning for the moment to be able to have that in the postseason. And whether we realize it or not, we have to have a moment of honesty. People did not tune in to the World Series last year. And
no, the whole World Series.
Right. The ratings have shown us that wasn't what people wanted. What people want to see, they want to see Judge. They want to see Ohtani. And we are giving the fans exactly what they want. And so, yes, I'm not just saying this as a Dodger fan. I am excited to turn my TV on or be in the midst of everything and just watch greatness for the next 6-7 games, because it's going 6-7 games. Just saying.
Well, we'll see. I know Flobo's shaking his head. We're going to get to you, Flobo. One of the things that I was excited about as well that I actually genuinely forgot about, shout out to the guys over there, the broadcast boys. My guy Deuce bought it up, and Joe's McFly as well, or John Boy bought it up. When the Dodgers came to the Bronx earlier this year, they had a parade with a police escort walking through the street of the Bronx with massive amounts of Dodger fans. I don't know if you remember this,
yes,
but it was all the smoke. I'm going to let you go, April. Hold on 1 second. But it was all the smoke that you could possibly want between the Dodgers Yankees when basically LA seemed to have invaded the boogie down. I'm going to go to Flobo.
Please go to April. She's all about it.
April's talking a bit about this. All right,
so
go ahead, April. Go ahead.
What I wanted to say was Dodgers fans do that in a lot of cities. Remember when I talked with Flobo about this? There is a travel group. Yes,
Right.
there's a travel group.
New York isn't every city. That's the issue.
Pantone 294, they travel from city to city. And we did it in Houston when we went to Houston. The only reason why I didn't walk whenever they came to Houston was because we had left too late and they were already out there. And I'm talking about they were outside. So this is something common that does happen. It wasn't just a New York thing.
I'm just saying, though.
I wanted to throw that out there that the fans they be outside.
I think it hits different in New York. Flobo, what say you
about this World Series? This one, look. Here's what I hear.
The depression is just sinking over the last 30 minutes.
It's not depression. It is a disappointment because everyone wants this until they get it. Last year, we had two small markets, and I agree. I mean, I liked it. I was trolling everybody for the Arizona Diamondbacks. But
you were.
It wasn't the greatest. And I'll be the first one to admit it. People kind of tuned out. But when you have teams that are so large and it's so big, and we're not soccer where you can get away with this, there's going to be a little bit of a grumblings around outside these two fan bases going, is this the spirit of baseball? Shohei Ohtani is the best player on the planet. Everyone's going to tune in. Japan's probably going to have a real-time watch party in the same time. So I'm not worried about ratings. This is going to exceed or explode the ratings from last year's World Series. But time and time again, this game, that we tell people it's star power versus doing the right thing, heads up plays versus great skill, team-based chemistry versus contracts. You want a David versus Goliath. So now we got Goliath versus Goliath, and now you can't be upset if someone goes, nah, I'm good. I'm fine with this. I'm not going to vote for Evil Empire East versus Evil Empire West. I'm watching something else. Dancing with the Stars is on. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, people are going to love it. The best stars on paper. But let's be real. After Shohei, MLB has done a terrible job of telling me who stars 2 through 15 are. Are you kidding me? I'm just putting it out there, man. I'm just saying. That's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not bitter at all. I
ain't bitter. Where's Grimace? Where's Grimace?
And look, in Japan, I think it was I can't even remember what time the games are coming on. It's like early in the morning. It's insane. They're pulling consistently
Yes.
9.1 million, 9.2 million viewers. I saw a stat in Japan that said 10% of the entire population
Yep.
of Japan are watching these games.
Yep.
So, again, globally, I guess it's interesting that you were saying this, and I'm glad you did bring up the soccer reference, Flobo. Why can't this be like soccer? Why
That is
can't you have the two biggest stars on the biggest market teams just have the entire country watching? Is it just that the United States is just too cynical in general? Like, we're going to be cynical about everything.
It's not cynical. It's the fundamentals of baseball. We teach kids to not celebrate. We teach games to play the right way. So now we're in the big stage, and so people go, "Oh, I'm a fan of both teams. This is great." Whereas in soccer, there's barras, and people go out there and they show their love, and people when they score, they do backflips and sweet. It's just
they don't do that in the Bronx in LA. I think they do that in the Bronx in LA.
The fist pump ain't the same as what Ronaldo used to do back in the day. I'm just saying, it ain't the same.
I think these two teams have more team pride.
Agreed.
Like bravado pride.
I agree with that.
But you can't compare it to soccer cheats. Come on.
No,
man.
no. I'm not saying it's Arsenal, Man City, like Manchester United, Liverpool type stuff. What I'm saying though is if you were going to get that in baseball, you're definitely putting the Yankees in it, and you're probably putting the Dodgers in it. These are almost tribal type fan bases.
They are. And I think the Yankee fans, I'm sorry, I'm dominating time here, but the Yankee fans and Dodger fans are going to show up and show out. They deserve this. Both of them do. Because these are franchises, even though I can't stand the people from New York who are like, I'm a Brooklyn Dodger fan. Doesn't count. Anyway, but what I'm saying is, anyone outside those two franchises, if I'm a Colorado Rockies fan or Marlins fans in other sports, we will go, well, this is the spectacle. I'm going to check out the spectacle. There's a lot of people going like, look, man, I ain't an LA fan, I ain't a New York fan, I'm out. And yeah, it doesn't matter if 10 million people in Japan are watching because the MLB makes their money, but it won't have that same kind of flavor. And I do think that, yes, as baseball analysts and fans, the baseball we're going to get this year is going to be great, but it's not going to be the cultural thing people think it's going to be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if there's this is where I'm going to say, and I've been cheering for this the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees, again, like it or not, the Yankees and the Dodgers had more people talking about the championship series than I can remember definitely since we started the mixtape, but I can remember in recent memory. Well, again, we're talking about baseball in the middle of football season, WNBA finals, preseason basketball. Shout out to my Knicks who's playing right now.
Liberty, what?
They were leading. They might not have gone a long time talking about the dissecting the games like they do on a football show, but they were leading these sports centers with, did you see what happened last night in the Bronx? Did you see what happened last night in LA? And that type of conversation, whether we think it's legitimate or not, that type of conversation is what brings, I think, eyes and people trying to pay attention. If you
had me.
If you talk about Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge and Juan Soto enough, people want to be in the know. They might actually check out the game to see what all these people are talking about.
Shohei Ohtani is an exception and an outlier. But I'm telling you, we talk about the ESPN G Block, talking about the Yankees and the Dodgers. No one's talking about someone like Tommy M, who should have a story, or a Jazz Chisholm. It's always just Judge versus Ohtani. Look, I get it. This is going to be the best World Series for baseball fans and pundits. You could pull this quote. Everyone in the chat will disagree with what I'm trying to say. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, you want people to love the sport, not just one guy versus one guy. And MLB, for what they've done, has done a very terrible job of telling you how much this matters for the sport of baseball rather than the individuals in the thing. I'm not going to hate on it. I'm going to watch it. But at the end of it, it'll be like, oh, Shohei was great. Judge was great. What's next? And it's going to go back to being an outlier again. That's what I'm saying.
But I also think that in this case, the names speak for themselves in regards to the teams. Like when you hear Yankee, you know exactly who they are. When you hear Dodgers, you know exactly who they are. And for me, the names are also carrying these teams into the World Series aspect. For me, like where I am, and I mean, you're out here too, Malik, There are people I know who haven't particularly watched baseball in a long time. They're tuned in because they've heard the Yankees have made it to the World Series again. They've heard that the Dodgers have broken this little thing that they've had going on, and they're interested in exactly what the outcome is going to be, because historically these two teams have such wonderful stories that you just can't help but turn the TV on and wonder exactly what the outcome will be.
Malik, do you think this World Series can be a gateway to new fandom?
Oh yeah, I have to comment on that because thinking about the last time we had two big bad wolves was really 2017 and 2018 when the Dodgers had played the Astros and also when they played the Red Sox. Am I? Yeah, that's definitely that year. So if we think about those years in the evolution of baseball media as we see it today, and even with social media and how we're able to kind of have real-time access and different sides and different takes on the game than we had compared like 6 years ago. I think that is going to be good for the game, just where the angles of the game are being captured alone. We have the Black Baseball Mixtape, for example, being able to get this angle of the game that we really aren't able to see. And so I think that is going to only do wonders for just the baseball media community, the baseball conversations. And I think that's going to really be the biggest takeaway from it is, us as a community kind of tuning in and then also bringing in new fans, the new Black fans as well.
And I appreciate that. And shout out to, did anybody watch, what was it? It was like DataCast. I wound up watching like 3 or 4 of the championship series games on DataCast. I think it might have been on True TV, where they showed the game, but they showed all of the data points and like where pitches were going.
Cool.
I think
F1 does
Dexter
that.
Fowler was on it. Shout out to them, because I enjoy watching the game like with a regular traditional call, and I think they did a good job. But watching the game and getting that DataCast commentary with all the stats on the screen and stuff, it made me feel like a scout. It was pretty awesome. So if you haven't checked it out, I hope they do it for the World Series. I don't know who has the coverage, but I thought it was really good. So shout out to them. Let's switch gears a little bit while we have a little bit of time left, because I do want to get into this discussion. We've been talking about it a lot through the playoffs, and we've been looking kind of nothing obviously official, nothing where we get hard numbers. I don't think we will get data-driven demographic numbers on who attends playoff games, but we were looking in the audience in different cities, whether it was Cleveland or Baltimore or LA or New York, and we were looking in the crowd to see two things I was looking for in particular. I was looking for families, and I was looking for diversity. And we talked a lot about it. And now that we get to the World Series, one of the first things I wanted to do, obviously in LA, in New York, and I will preference this by saying the Super Bowl, the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game, the NBA Finals, these types of marquee events are not for, I do not believe they are priced for any type of middle class, working class family. They're just not. Like, you can watch it on TV, you can cheer, but I went immediately to like the secondary market, Vivid Seats, SeatGeek StubHub. I used Vivid on the video I used earlier. Just to get into the building on Friday in LA, it's over $1,000 for one ticket. In the Bronx, I guess they go to the Bronx on Monday, or no, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, Monday they go to the Bronx. The Bronx has this thing where it's called general admission standing room only seats. So you don't even have a seat, but it's general admission standing room only to get into the building. Those are over $1,000 for one ticket, not including the fees. Some of them include fees, some of them don't. But I looked at that, and I'm just asking myself, full disclosure, I work, my wife works, we only have one child, we make fairly decent wage when we do it. We could not take me, my wife, and my child to any of these games. They priced us out. And again, we're by the U.S. standards of income, we're doing well. Flobo, let me start with you.
Yeah.
who are these games for?
Right.
Because I don't think they're for families. I don't think they're for diversity. And honestly, should they be? Like, should we even care? Should it just be something we just write off and say, hey, look, the World Series is not for that level of demographic. You go if you can afford to go, and then everybody else will encourage more families and diversities during the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going to spend a mutual fund investment to go to one game. That's just a dumb
One game.
financial.
They got
That is
one.
just-
It's not the Super Bowl where it's one game. They got 7 possible games, but
That's the
it's
best.
one game.
You basically said what I was about to say. This is not a problem because championship games in any series aren't for families. They're for corporate boxes and giant whales and social media influencers to see and be seen. It is a premium for a reason. Look, teams like families, depending on how good they are, to fill up seats during the games. You go to Arizona, they'll give out $2 hot dogs and 4 for $4 deals. But when it comes to something like this, you know the whole world is watching. Yeah, it's not for you to bring the kid to learn the game of baseball. It is basically move aside. We're bringing in John Mayer. We're bringing in Jay-Z. We're bringing everyone else and make sure they have a spot to make sure that it is desirable, trickle down, for you watching on TV going, oh man, next time I gotta go. I got to a F1 race in Miami at dirt cheap at $800 for a GA ticket because I saw a celebrity on the paddock. It took me 2 years to save up for it, my guy, because that's the way it's structured. They have these championship things. So yeah, families of 4, not for the World Series.
April, what do you think?
I saw those prices and I'm like, well, ain't no dollar dog night happening in the World Series like they have at, some of the games out here. And I will say, as an educator, my first thought was always, because we're always prepared to think of how you are presenting things affect families. And when you think of the average family right now, you just can't do it. And like, even me, you're married and you have a kid. I don't. And even me, I'm like, this isn't something that I can just do for more than one time. And even if I wanted to go, what is the outcome going to be on the other side of it? So I do have to think about, okay, what about my bills? Or what if I have an emergency? Or what if I have something else? And I know some people were talking about, people can put it on a credit card or people can do other things. And you can, but what kind of experience are you going to have? I can pay $1,700 for a ticket, but where am I going to be sitting? Because we're talking about the lowest price.
We were talking about the lowest. We were talking about just to get into the building.
Right.
That's
not including parking. That's not including food. That's not including if you want to buy something to celebrate the moment and the experience. Like, none of that is included for that. So when you do think of the average person, no, you are completely priced out of having that experience and that moment. And that is for all athletic events. But then on the other hand, I also got to think about supply and demand. Right. Like, everybody wants to go. Everybody can't go. So what do you do in order to even that out? You got to raise the price of the ticket to see exactly who it is. And unfortunately, the middle and lower class people, you're always going to be priced out of that supply and demand scenario.
There are a lot of comments on Instagram. I just wanted people on Instagram to know, if you want your comment posted, you have to comment on YouTube, the Black Baseball Mixtape YouTube page. Jump over there if you want it posted. There are a lot of comments on Instagram. Malik, April brings up the right point. I will tell you this: these games are going to be sold out. I mean, I'm looking. It's not like there's going to be a bunch of empty seats in Dodger Stadium. There's not going to be a bunch of empty seats in the Bronx. So even at prices over $1,000 for one, and we're just talking the cheapest tickets. I'm talking about right field upper deck bleachers, and we're talking for $1,000, $1,100, $1,200. These tickets are going to go. So when you know that, and you're looking at this and your baseball, do you even care? Do you even care about the price? Because all the tickets are going to be sold.
I'm going to have to say that I have several thoughts on this. So first of all, has any of y'all ever bought like Beyonce tickets? before? I mean,
I did.
those tickets.
I can't afford that.
Yes, I
Me
have.
and wife,
I'll do a
me and Jamie
podcast,
were at the
bro.
Renaissance store.
I bought Beyonce, Mary J. Blige. I can go down the list. Yes, I have. But guess what? It's one ticket. It's one ticket.
Is one.
And
Go
I
ahead,
do
Malik.
say
Now,
something.
go ahead. Go with this. Where are you going with this? I like it.
Yeah, it was my ticket was $300, and I had amazing seats where I was. It wasn't $1,700 in the nosebleed.
Malik, go. Where are we going with this though? I like it. I like it.
Okay, I've never seen those. I mean, a recent tour.
She was in Wyoming chilling. She up there in Saskatchewan chilling. $300.
I don't know. I have several thoughts on the pricing. Well, first of all, just taking it back to just who this World Series is going to include. We have LA, which is a city that has the most billionaires per square mile or square foot, and also New York. So of course, these tickets are going to just be the highest they can be with this type of World Series alone. And so that's just already going to be a given. Secondly, if the MLB wanted to somehow diversify the crowd at any of these events, they could set aside maybe 2,000, 3,000 tickets that they somehow use some of the fines throughout the season to fund, or some type of creative way to fund that.
For the kids.
The thing is, I don't think any owner would sign off on that, right?
Families,
I don't. The question is, if you're an owner of the team, do you sign off on some type of lottery for reduced ticket prices? So you know what I mean?
Because
I just don't. Because again, these tickets are gonna sell. So I just don't know what you do there.
And that's never going to be fair. You're going to have a whole nother issue with that.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Because like the profit sharing alone, I think the players get 70% of the first 4 games. Like they're not going to go.
Yeah, they're not going for that. Especially not the Phillies. Not going for that.
Lobo, was it you that showed me it might have been April, the parking? I did not look. So I looked at ticket prices. I did not look at parking prices. The parking alone was several hundred of dollars.
Yes.
So that's the thing too. I think most people go to Dodger games park for free, right? They park on the hill and they troop and stuff like that. They're making it almost impossible because there's so many people there. They're locking that off, so they're kind of forcing you to go inside that building, and that's going to be another spot of revenue because of that profit sharing thing. I mean, all the players get a bonus check at the end of the run for their work, and that comes out of ticket sales. So whatever you can get to get you up there maximum, then why the heck not?
So again, even if you're planning, you're talking about over $1,000 for tickets. You're talking about several $100s for parking. Not to mention if you're gonna food or whatever at the game. Maybe you don't eat. Maybe you don't do any of that stuff. But again, this is all for one person.
I'm on a budget.
This is all for one person. I tend to think of, like I said, the families. And I tend to think of organizations or lower income situations. Maybe I'm even asking the wrong question, because we are now at the end of the season. There's only 2 teams left. It's going to be exciting for us as fans.
Sure.
But maybe you guys were alluding to this, the World Series is not the time to introduce new fans, diversity, diversity into becoming fans. This is not the time to introduce new fandom. This is World Series time. This is big money time.
Well, yeah, the idea is that if you're a kid, you think of game 6 or 7 in Dodger Stadium being on the mound, and that's supposed to fuel you over the offseason to buy that season ticket plan. When that game is over, win or lose, you're getting all those emails being like, hey, love this, try that kind of a situation. I think all the kids remember those big leverage games, but our first games as kids was not the World Series. It was a cold day in April, freezing your butt off in the stands, learning the game with your mom or dad or whatever.
And just to be honest with you, I'm assuming the players are going to be tight and taking it all in. Certain players have different personalities, but this may not be the time for your little kid to get the autograph before or after the game. You know what I mean? You may not get that experience that usually my kid gets when we go to a regular season game and see batting practice, and they're signing autographs before the game. And I don't know if the World Series is that type of climate.
Absolutely
They're
not.
focused on winning. I don't even see them being outside doing. I'm not saying that they can't do it, but I would just expect a player to be in the zone to prepare for the game, not
And
outside
with
signing
media, the
autographs
media
with
all
somebody.
around, it's a media circus, but it's a different level of intensity.
Right.
There's a lot of media at an all-star game, but everything at an all-star game is like, oh, this is fun. I'm not even taking it serious. Let's showcase, And so guys might be at the all-star game with a lot of media around, signing for 20 minutes or something like that. This level of intensity, Dodgers, Yankees, World Series, so much media around. It's probably just gonna feel like I don't know. I've never been to a World Series, so I can't say. But it doesn't seem like it feels like something that'll be like, oh, this is. I mean, it just feels like intensity,
Absolutely. Hit the nail
All
on the head,
right.
man. Can't be doing discounts in a World Series. Come on.
Let's put a button on this because there is a lot to unpack when you do look at how much it costs to go to one of these marquee games. And again, who are these marquee games for? Obviously the teams are going to be playing their hearts out, but this may not be the ideal experience to introduce new fans to the game. Even though we just talked about we want these teams in it so more people pay attention and hopefully become fans of the game. But maybe that's just for for TV. I don't
Yeah, I mean that, and for me, World Series is for like diehards. Like this, your team. They done made it to the big moment. Like you have waited this moment. Like I watched them in 2020, but to see both of these teams match up against each other in a long time, like I'm deeply excited about it. But the last time this has happened, I don't think a casual fan or someone new is going to have the same level of excitement as a diehard who, loves and appreciates the team. And I also wanted to add, there are some good comments where people are talking about regular season games that we definitely should get into, obviously at another time. But I think that it goes along with the conversation that we're having right now in regards to affordability for the World Series.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes left. I do want to ask because I'm excited about the World Series. We got plenty of time. We'll be back on Thursday. The games will start on Friday. We'll be back on Sunday. But I'm interested because when you talk about the Dodgers and the Yankees, I think perception also kind of meets reality in certain ways. Flobo, this is a good question for you.
Yeah, hit me.
Is this version of the New York Yankees? Well, I guess let me ask this. I'll ask it of each of you. Which team is more likable?
You're asking a Mets fan which team is more likable?
If you're just looking at the teams and you're looking at the rosters, what team between the Dodgers and the Yankees is a more likable team?
I don't support evil. I can't answer that question. None of them. Do I want to root for the girl that stood me up at a date or my ex-wife? The answer is none of them. Jeez. Come on, man.
Malik, what team is more likable, the Dodgers or the Yankees?
It's obviously going to have to be the Dodgers, really, because you have the big bad Yankees. They have that nomenclature that they've following them for all of their history. You also have Jazz Chisholm on the team, which I love. A lot of people don't really like Verdugo. Some people are just not really feeling the Yankees' big bad wolf feel. So I think that the Dodgers are a little bit more likable. They got Mookie, Freddie Freeman. How can you dislike Freddie Freeman? How can you dislike Shohei Ohtani? I feel like they're just a little bit more friendly, West Coast vibes, not too confrontational. So I would say that people a lot more, buddy with the Dodgers team, I'd say.
April, should I even ask you? I don't even think I should.
I think I have a balanced answer.
You're not gonna have a balanced answer.
Of course, my team is more likable. But let me say something.
Yeah.
Have people called the Dodgers the evil empire? Because,
they are.
So are we the evil empire of the West? Is that
yes.
what you're telling us?
Absolutely.
That's
It's not
funny.
even debate. And the Astros exist. Imagine that. The Astros are a team, and the Dodgers are the evil empire of the West.
Yes,
You know,
it's true.
No. What I was gonna say
Yeah.
is I know a lot of people who do not like the fact that Shohei went to the Dodgers. So the likability factor has definitely diminished from that aspect. And while there are people
Not
that
like
I like, people love Kershaw, people love Mookie, people love Freddie, but that turned a lot of people off to liking the team as a whole. And I do think that, people may say that they dislike the Yankees, but there's also a lot to like about the Yankees. Like, I'm going to be honest, I like watching Jazz Chisholm on the Yankees. I like the excitement and the smile on his face that I see. So some of the negativity that people have had, I think that seeing him in this different element has completely taken that away. Maybe not completely, but it's definitely diminished it. So as far as who's more likable, I would say that my team is more likable, but I can't deny the fact that people love Judge, people love Soto, and also people love watching hometown people play for their teams. You see that with Garrett Cole, you see that with Volpe and a couple of others. So watching those moments, I think it gives it a different perspective of what likability may mean for a casual person or somebody new to watching the sport.
Well, can I give my formal answer? And also,
you got a formal answer now,
I got a formal answer.
All right.
The reason,
no, I want to hear it.
I was neutral on Los Angeles. I hate Dodger Stadium. I think it's a dump. But I was neutral on the team for a long time. And I defended the Dodgers and people used to be haters on them. But this postseason, whether it was the antics between them and San Diego or the fact that Fox was just having the 9 batters away from Shohei or seeing a Shohei beats ad while he is at bat did not do that team any favors. So yes, my team did get eliminated by Los Angeles, but then I don't feel like, well, we lost to the best, hope they win. It's more like, wow, that was really, it felt like a shakedown and anything else. And so maybe it's their fault, maybe it's the Fox's fault, maybe it's the league's fault. But I think for most casuals, it really isn't an easy decision.
I'm actually floored by these answers. I am surprised. There's a couple things that come out. One, I don't see, maybe it's just my view and I'm extremely biased, but I don't see people disliking Shohei Ohtani.
No,
they do.
I don't.
What? No.
I know people.
They're sick of them. They're sick of
I
them.
do not think.
To me,
I would say Shohei's
people
approval
say it
rating.
to me.
They're sick of them. But they don't hate
I
them.
think Shohei's approval rating has to be
Approval
the
rating.
highest.
Shohei for president, y'all.
Yeah, Shohei has got to be at like 85, 90%. He plays for the Dodgers, and because he's awesome. Like, I just think Shohei has got to be one of the. I mean, he's obviously, like we were talking about, jersey sales. Now this is all different because of the Asian market and all the things, but Shohei is by far, like, I think universally liked.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that hates
I think we're
Shohei.
sick of Shohei. I don't think people hate him. I don't think everyone's like, oh, I hate his face. It's more like,
I think
yo,
the
this year they
gambling
pushed
turned a
it.
lot of people off from him.
We're gonna have to do polls because
Yes.
I do think that Shohei is by far the most liked. Like, not the most. He's not like man of the year Clemente liked. Like, he's not like universally. Look, shout out to my guy Curtis Granderson. He's not like nobody says anything bad about this universally liked figure. But I also think that it's either Shohei's awesome or you just don't have an opinion on him. I don't think people actively are like, oh, I hate that guy.
They're doing it in the chat.
Yeah, the gambling thing won, and
This is
I'll challenge you. If there was the approval ratings, I think the one player with the highest approval rating in the entire major is Freddie Freeman. Yeah,
well,
yeah,
Freddie,
another Dodger. But guess what? Fox ain't talking about him at all. In his ankle, it's all Shohei.
Freddie has a great story. Obviously, what Freddie went through, obviously with his family this year. Freddie is universally liked. Freddie's great. Mookie is universal. There's not a lot of Mookie haters. Maybe in Boston.
They are.
But it's not even Boston wasn't even Mookie's fault. Like,
right.
Blame the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's Boston.
I am shocked by, like, I think the Dodgers are a very likable team. I do. I really, really do.
Same. That's why I love them.
This is what I will tell you, though. I think the Yankees get hate off reputation and Steinbrenner and all the ghosts of Yankee past. And I will say, in my opinion, the 2024 Yankees do not fit the mold of those Yankee teams that were hated in the past. April alluded to it. No one is going around saying Aaron Judge is a bad dude. Aaron Judge isn't Reggie Jackson. Right?
Imagine.
Like Aaron Judge is universally liked. Everyone loves Juan Soto. Juan Soto is not,
except for Globo.
He a villain. He a villain. He a villain.
I'm not calling him a villain. Again, Soto is a perfect fit for the Bronx. He's a perfect fit for what they're doing culturally, what they're doing with the fan base. He seems to be extremely happy there. So Judge is great. Soto is great. We talked about Jazz as a personality. Like, just seems to be really, really happy in New York. Seems to be a place he wants to play. Like you said, you talked about Volpe. I am sitting here saying that this Yankee team, there is not a person. I'm trying to think. Is there a hated figure on this 2024 Yankees roster? I mean, people always feel a certain type of way about like Stroman, but he's not that big. Like he's not that polarizing in this playoffs.
Right.
I think that the Yankees are like hated by reputation of their previous greatness, and obviously, like I said, Steinbrenner, all that. I don't think it fits this 2024 Yankees team, which I find pretty damn likable.
I do. I do.
I do not.
All right, we will have to leave it here. This is the Tuesday crew. This crew will not we won't be back together until next Tuesday. Do we want to quickly go around and give our World Series predictions?
Yes.
All right, April, you started off. Dodgers and what?
Till the wheels fall off. Dodgers in 6 or 7. I have this series. It is not going to be a quick one. We will close out the Yankees, but it will be at home, game 6 or 7. Mm-hmm.
Malik, what say you?
This will not be easy for me to admit as a Houston fan, but I am going to be rooting for whichever team is blackest, and so that will be the Yankees. And so I'm going to pick
Yankees on the Black Power Index.
Technically, he's right.
Yep. Black Power Index, Yankees.
Yeah.
Numbers.
Right.
Melanin in the numbers, yeah. I am rooting for no one. I hope they both lose. I hope the whole sinkhole takes both those teams away. But if you're asking me as an analyst, I would say one of the weaknesses of the Dodgers was letting men on base. The Mets were terrible at runners in scoring position. The Yankees don't have that problem. So unfortunately, I think the Yankees will win. But I ain't rooting for them. I ain't rooting for them at all. But I do think Yankees are going to win in 6 games.
So April, you got the Dodgers. Flobo, Malik, you got the Yankees. I don't know. And I don't know what the key. I mean, obviously, pitching is going to be such a big deal.
Yes.
It's going to be such a big deal. I don't know. I don't know the answer. Good thing for me is I get to come back on Thursday. You guys don't. So I will hold out. I will hold out.
She's no longer likable.
I will hold out until the Thursday podcast. I will give it more.
Rating goes down.
I will give it more breakdown, more analysts. I'll see if there's more injury reports. I'll try to get some more. Look, I'll try to call some people, see who's up late. You know what I mean? See who's
playing
in LA.
He's playing game 1.
Oh, all right.
Poor
Hey,
guy.
look, this has been a lot of fun, guys. This has been a lot of fun. By the time we get back together, we'll be knee deep in the World Series. So I'm excited about that. Ladies and gentlemen, every Thursday, every Sunday, and this wonderful group will be here every Tuesday. It is the Black Baseball Mixtape, brought to you in partnership with Stilo Sports, the Players Alliance, Horencia 21, Numbers Game Scorecards, and Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds. If you want to join our absolutely free Discord group chat, message Black Baseball Mixtape, ask for the link. We'll send you the link. It's absolutely free. Obviously, subscribe to the podcast everywhere podcasts are streaming. We will be uploading by tomorrow morning. We will have this wonderful podcast and Sunday's podcast that featured April holding down the hosting duties with Lewis Brinson. An excellent podcast there as well. So tell a friend,